Hey, this is Matt Urtz, the Madison County historian. We are still working to document the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. We are very fortunate today to have Cornell Cooperative Extension of Madison County um, agricultural educator Tess. Tess, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
So talk a little bit, for those that aren't familiar, can you kind of explain what Cornell Cooperative Extension is and what you guys do within Madison County?
Sure. So, Cornell Cooperative Extension is just that, an extension of Cornell University, but here within Madison County. There are offices across the state in every single county. If there are needs in the agricultural sector or family and consumer science or 4-H and youth development, those are the things that we focus on as big buckets. So that's really what we do. We take that work that the university does and bring it out into Madison County.
Okay, so talk about your role as ag educator. What do you do, and how does that kind of part of what your cooperative extension mission is?
Sure. So I'm an agricultural educator and I mostly work with production agriculture. So I will do programming on anything from drone use on the farm to lately, like one of my coworkers, Myron, he's been working on the PPP program and how farmers can apply for that payroll protection program. So those are some of the things we do here, at least in the ag department. I also do go out into the public and work with mostly adults in my role. And I've done like programs on ticks and how that is a problem here in our area and through most of the state. I do a little bit of everything. I'm kind of a jack of all trades sort of girl here.
Okay, so talk a little bit about how when COVID-19 kind of came on the radar of Cornell Cooperative and how you guys at least initially responded.
Sure. So, we kind of knew pretty early on. The university was really good about letting us know what was happening as it was happening. We did follow Madison County very closely on like when they were going to close. And we do that because we are mostly funded through federal, state, and county dollars, as well as Cornell University. So we very much follow what the county does as one of our sources of funding.
Okay, so the county closed on or around about March 20th. You guys did. Talk about, so you go from working in office to working from home. Talk about that adaptation and how you guys kind of, like everyone else, kind of did it on the fly.
Yes. So we were very much on the fly also. We are lucky that we have worked via Zoom a lot here at the office anyway. But we didn't do everything through Zoom. We would have meetings with different extension offices through the state. So we're very familiar with it, but we basically went from working face to face with people to 100% Zoom in just like that. So, we just switched gears and started recording all of our programs or having them live via Zoom. And really, we didn't have to pause too much in that transition because we already kind of knew the programming. Cornell was great about getting us the information on how to quickly and easily adapt what we were doing in person to online. So it was a pretty smooth transition for the most part.
Okay. Talk about one of the first things. So when this all started, there was this phrase that was bandied about essential workers, essential businesses, which was a really broad term because it covered a lot of things. I think the things that most commonly get referred to as are medical workers and people that were kind of involved in transporting folks. But you also had UPS and plumbers and heating and air conditioning guys, and different people were considered essential. farmers markets were actually one of those things too, which we have a lot of those in Madison County. Talk a little bit about that process and how you guys help the farmers markets, because that is a place where a lot of people get their food.
Yeah, so farming in general is and was considered essential through all of this, and so farmers markets also were considered essential because that's where people are getting groceries as well. So we here at Extension, we started something called Curbside at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Madison County, and we took um, the information from the farmers who were selling at farmers markets. Not all farmers markets stayed open the whole time. Some of them opted to, and some of them closed for short periods of time. Most of them are reopened now. But when we did curbside at Cornell, we took the farmers that weren't able to sell at the market, or extended some people who don't even sell at markets and wanted to. There was a database here. They could put their name and their phone number in, and folks could just call them up and have a safe meeting space here at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Madison County, so that they could do a safe and easy transaction to get those local foods throughout the whole COVID-19 shutdown.
Okay. So what about the markets themselves? You guys actually work with the markets to a certain degree. Talk about, all these markets that reopened had to, follow social distancing guidelines, cleaning guidelines. Were you part of that process and helping them with that?
Yeah, so we were able to be the recipient of face coverings and hand sanitizer. So as the markets began to open again, we were able to provide all of the markets in the county with hand sanitizer and face coverings for their employees. The hand sanitizer was several gallons to have their employees and also folks visiting the markets safe and ready to enter the market, so that they weren't coming in without those things. And so we were able to distribute those, which was really, really great. That was thanks to New York State Ag and Markets and the county. So thank you to the county for being able to help us with that. But farmers markets were really at the forefront. They did a lot. The Farmers Market Federation came out with wonderful signage right at the beginning of this, showing spacing for social distancing, signs that say to wear masks. They had just some cute and clever ones, like little chickens wearing face coverings, things like that. So they worked really hard to make sure that they were at the forefront and able to have folks still buying fresh local foods during the entire pandemic.
One of the things that's come out, it's kind of risen and fallen to a certain degree. But there was at one point in time, there was a fear of some form of a meat shortage, specifically the Midwest, where you had a bunch of processing facilities that closed because they had widespread COVID in the buildings. Talk a little bit about that initial fear. I know that pretty quickly we found out that it wasn't so much that there wasn't enough meat, it was that the supply might get disrupted. Talk about how that impacted and how people can actually find farmers today locally if that were to happen again.
Sure. So, there's never been a meat shortage, which is something we like everybody to know. It does impact the chain. So, if one plant slows down, another one might pick up, but then it's the shipping and getting it to the areas that need it and when they need it. But there's never been an actual shortage of meat. I know in upstate New York, there's definitely not a shortage of meat. We have plenty of local farms who have fresh local meat ready to sell from farm to table, basically. And so there's a lot of ways that you can find local farmers who are selling those products. Curbside at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Madison County is one of those. You can go right to our website and find a list of all the farmers who are selling. You can call them directly and make a pickup happen. there's lots of farms selling, right from their farmstead or at a farmer's market. Farmers markets usually list where they have everything. We also have a great opportunity here at Extension. We get interns every year, and we have an amazing intern who's working on a farm stand project. And so she's using a Google-based spreadsheet. And so she'll be able to have a map with all of the local farm stands, and it'll say what they're selling, where they are, so you can just drive the county and find exactly what you want when you want it.
Have you guys, and maybe you don't track this, but have you guys found that there is a bigger push for at the farmers markets right now, or for things like CSAs locally? Have you found that there's been a bigger push since this has happened?
So I've definitely been able to speak with a lot of our farmers, and I know that I would say more than 50% of them would say that their sales are up locally. And I think it's because just knowing that it's local and knowing that it's available, you can easily have a socially distanced pickup of those products. I think that that was really crucial in driving up some of those sales.
Well, and I give a talk on hops, and one of the things we talk about with hops is the growth of microbrews, at least partially came from that idea of wanting to buy something that was quote unquote better crafted maybe, or had local products in it. And we've seen that push for the last 15 or 20 years to more locally grown, certain level organic. So that probably plays a part too. I thought about this after we had some conversations about doing this. One of my favorite events every year is Open Farm Days, which is a really wonderful event where people get the opportunity to see the insides and outs of, I don't want to say every farm in Madison County, but almost every farm in Madison County. And I'm fairly certain that's not going to happen, but I'm wondering if it's something you plan to continue in the future, or if you're going to try something different this year.
Yeah, so this is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. When I was hired on here, one of the questions that they asked are what I knew about Open Farm Day, and I had looked over all of that information so much, and luckily last year I was able to do a lot of the work to have Open Farm Day. So yes, Open Farm Day is postponed, we're going to call it, for this year. We're working together with our board to have to see how we can move forward. Two of the things that I think that are going to happen, or we're working towards, we're going to have a virtual Open Farm Day during the day of Open Farm Day, which would have been July 25th. And then kind of through the next week, and we're going to just show some video tours of farms in the area. Obviously, not everyone is going to get to be on there. We usually have 38 farms, so that'd be a lot of video footage. So we'll have at least several farms that want to be involved in that. And then we're actually looking to have a harvest edition of Open Farm Day. So trying to see what farms would be available in October to have their farms open to the public, because we want to be out on the farms too. And so trying to not actually cancel it and just have it a little later in the year, I think, is the goal.
Yeah, I that's been something. My wife is from Rochester. She was not a farm girl in any way, shape, or form before we met. And it's an experience we try and do every year. And I think sometimes one of my favorite parts is, I don't think people realize the idea of a farm doesn't mean cows. It could mean honeybees, and it could mean wildflowers. There's lots of different things. I believe we have mini donkeys. At one point, I think we had a moose farm somewhere in here, or elk.
Buffalo.
Buffalo, yes, and the bison. One of my favorite stories comes from the bison farm that I will not say on air. But I think that's one of those things that people. It's a wonderful event. It draws quite literally thousands of people.
Yeah.
Kids learn so much in that event. So I'm glad you're trying to do something.
Last year was our highest attendance. We had over 6,500 people show up. So we really, we're hoping that this year would be, one step above that. And so we were a little
Uh,
disappointed that we had to make this decision, but we're just looking out for the safety of all and our farmers, because that's a lot of people to show up at their doorstep. So
and it's just another stressor in a time when there's just a lot of stress.
yeah.
So talk a little bit about, you had mentioned moving to digital classes. Have you found that your digital attendance is better? And do you see, kind of looking at the future, how COVID will impact Cornell Cooperative Extension farmers? Do you see yourself kind of doing more of a mix of in-person? I know that I, like everyone, I've learned a lot more about Zoom than I ever thought I would. And we're doing digital presentations. So do you think this is something where you're going to mix technology more?
Yeah, I think we certainly will do more of the mixed media, if you will. And so we will do in person, and I think we will learn to record more to be able to post and share. So we really just got up and running with our YouTube channel. So you can find us on YouTube, and most of our programs are now listed there. We miss people. We are people here at Extension. And so I think you'll find that we'll still be running a lot of in-person classes, but we will have options for online and being able to join, virtually for almost anything, just because we did have really great attendance for our virtual meetings. Myself and my coworker Patty, we ran a Planting with Purpose gardening series, which is just about halfway through now. We'll have a few more of those. Our average attendance on those is somewhere between 20 and 40 people each time. We wouldn't have had probably that many people if we did it in person. So I'm so grateful that we had that opportunity, but we do miss people and want to see people face to face too.
Okay. Tess, anything else you want to say before we finish up?
Sure. I just want everyone to know that Cooperative Extension is there for you. If you have anything that you need, we're not in the office. I am in the office right now, but we're not in the office all of the time. We do have, we're just now starting to reopen where we have someone here, but all of our phones the phone calls come right to us. So if you need something, we are on call and available all the time. So give us a shout, whatever you need.
And where can they find you online?
Sure. So online, oh goodness, now I'm gonna have to try and remember this. ccemadisoncounty.org, I believe. And you can call us on the phone at 315-684-3001.
Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. Hopefully we will see you in the fall with a wonderful fall harvest event. And as you talked about the farms you're working with, immediately what ran through my head is, man, I have a lot of old photos of farms. I wonder if we can incorporate stuff. So we'll have to talk about, we'll have to talk about that off air. We hope to talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking part.